See what happens. A lot of the damage dealers being taken out off the side for Isurus Gaming. Fizz and Graves right away, focusing more on that utility with the Galio and the Ivern from the side of Virtus Pro. Ivern obviously finding himself on that ban list with Graves throughout the entire tournament pretty much.
A lot of direction. It looks like Isurus Gaming had a clear idea of what they want to take off the board now. Bear in mind that Virtus Pro, they've had a lot of value on this Lee Sin in particular. Isurus Gaming, they could look to run at a very early Lulu pick if they wanted to. It's a very safe support, provides a lot of peel. We've seen a lot of it in terms of the protect the AD carry styles of composition, but we're also seeing that for Virtus Pro, I think they're also going to be able to get a lot of their comforts. Champions like Nautilus are still left available for Doxy. We already talked about the Lee Sin. Varus is an AD carry that has still been left available, so I think a safe draft for them could very well be the Lee Sin into Varus.
The famed Sona hover as Virtus Pro waits. Going to get that jungle and possibly bot lane in. Kha'Zix going in for Kriox here. Still wondering today if teams are making what they want to create here or if they're kind of going to organize around the composition they're looking at in their opponents. Like we said, with the Blitzcrank, the Sona picks, they're kind of doing what they want. It's a style I'd like to see here in a tournament where you kind of just need to go from game to game and not showing the same thing. It's going to be the Ezreal lock-in, so a bit of safety, bit of in and out here for Virtus Pro to play the team fights in a very spaced out manner. We'll see how Isurus answers.
Very surprising that Virtus Pro would opt into what will already be a very difficult matchup for them to play. We did see them on their, in one of their matches, bring out the Ezreal Nautilus bottom lane into the Sona Cannon, where they actually had a fair amount of success, even though they lost that game overall. But I feel like now Isurus Gaming, like, not only have they guaranteed themselves a very powerful duo in the bottom lane, they're going to guarantee the push. They've also got an early game jungler that, in all honesty, has a lot more playmaking potential, has more room to make these sort of outplays. And I feel like Kha'Zix, we have seen a limited amount of success throughout both groups. Yeah. And I just wonder whether or not why it has so much value. I feel like, sure, Kriox, he may be the style of jungler that likes these early playmakers, but we'll see how much success he can have on it today.
Absolutely. It plays in the favor of QQ more. We saw his Elise previously. It's almost 3 buffed. I believe it was by Levi. Had a tough game and another one, so QQ more on this league could really start things and get that confidence building here in the first game of the day 4. Orianna answer already. Interesting. Obviously a safe pick. Interesting to way synergize. Let's see what they put in the top lane or in support.
With Syndra banned, Orianna becomes the next safest pick, as you rightly said. And now Virtus Pro have the freedom to ban out a lot of the other mid laners. So champions like Echo and Ahri could very well be taken off the table. Emp does play a fair amount of different champions, so I feel like he could also look to pick up something like the Ryze into this matchup as well, very unlikely to be banned away. We saw a couple of great Ryze plays from Virtus Pro in their final game of the day, where they had that super sweet map movement that caught their opponents off guard.
That would actually be pretty great, considering that a lot of the team wants to be in and out. If the ball engage isn't going to be there, being able to lock down a Kha'Zix or the Ezreal throws that siege composition off, or just engage, I should say, not siege. Final ban here from Virtus Pro, the Talia on the side of Emp. He liked to hover that coming into their second day of play. So what do they answer with?
I feel like if you're Isurus Gaming, you notice that the enemy supports have not been locked in, so I don't know if you want to ban away the... Yeah, I don't think it made sense to ban away something like a Zyra, because I think Virtus Pro are looking at something like a Nami right now to be able to manage the trading power and give them a little bit more sustain during the laning phase. They too could go for something like a Sona if they wanted to. We already have seen it once during the tournament, but I think it's a bit of a gamble. Mainly we've seen melee supports coming out from Santas, as the analyst desk was alluding to. So I wouldn't be surprised if you were to go for something like that, maybe something like a Thresh we've often seen being picked into the Lulu.
The Zyra gets locked in. I do like it. Keeps the back line at bay, then you can sort everybody else out and hopefully keep Lulu away from her target of wild growth. Double answer here from Isurus Gaming. They're looking for a top laner and looking to answer with that mid. Still have a Cassiopeia on the board that we've seen a bit of.
Nautilus and Gragas are both available too, both very safe top laners that you can run. In terms of mid, Ahri is a very safe
Ahri,
and not yet to be banned away. Echo is available too. We talked about possibly moving on to the Rise, should he want to. And as you mentioned as well, Cassio, probably not the strongest pick into this match in particular, given her
now with
short
the
range.
Zyra as well.
But I feel like that a Gragas Irie would be pretty safe here for Isurus Gaming.
13 seconds. Chatting it up with the coach, deciding what he wants. 0-3 here, so they need to make plays. That's a composition they have put together. A composition that can force the fight to get themselves some wins and also absorb a fight with a little displacement and safety for their AD carry if they need it. So really well-rounded here from Isurus Gaming. We'll see what Virtus Pro can get.
I want to say Rumble is likely to come out from the side of Virtus Pro. He should be able to deal with the push coming out from Gragas, and he synergizes nicely with the team fighting composition from Virtus Pro. The big thing that I'm worried about for Virtus right now is the fact that they don't have a reliable engage tool at the moment. With the Renekton, they do have a flanking opportunity available to them, but being able to engage on a composition with a Gragas, Ahri, the Lulu, Caitlyn, the disengage from the Lee Sin as well.
Still just shy of the word reliable.
Exactly,
just
right?
shy.
So it's gonna be difficult for Virtus Pro to be able to force the fights that they really want. However, what they do have is a powerful top laner to match the pushing power of Renekton. They have an early game jungler in the form of Kha'Zix, and I feel like the bottom lane could very well struggle simply due to the sheer amount of wave clear and trading power of Isurus Gaming. But given that the bottom lane is going to be pushing in a lot, that could give a few windows to Krax to look for a few early ganks down the bottom lane, because if you ever get caught up by those grasping roots, that's going to be one dead Yordle.
Very true. We'll see kill pressure in mid lane, ignite to the Ghost of Paranoia, who's going to be trying to play safe, dip, dodge, and duck around all of the Orbs of Deception. Not the Foxfires, though. Some of it has to hit. We'll have to see how that hits level 6. And if we do get that jungler intervention, we see QQ more and Pride being that big synergy. We'll see if that can go towards mid lane a little bit. Get Emp going this time. And we'll see if Isurus Gaming can get themselves on the board. We are in day 4 here of the play-in's last day, as the fate of the teams in their own hands. And some, if the other teams get the victories, if Isurus Gaming can do some work here, it kind of mixes up the day.
It is definitely an uphill struggle for Isurus Gaming. They need everyone to go 3-3 in order to even consider being able to qualify. Whereas for Virtus Pro, they just need to start off by winning this game, and they still have a good chance of making it if they're able to get themselves a 3-0 on the day. And their lives are even better if Gigabytes can somehow drop a game somewhere on the day.
All right, Vedius, we are back. We are on the Rift. We are about to see what Isurus Gaming can start the day off with against Virtus Pro. 1-2 versus 0-3 here.
Looks like we have a bit of a cheeky level 1 play. You do often see this going up against Zyras. They want to be able to get those passive plants fairly deep down during the laning phase so you can get the early push off. And Isurus, they're just trying to see if they can get themselves a pick. But I feel like teams, they've learned, they realize, hang on, I feel like that this has happened before. And we're yet to see anyone fall prey to that level 1 shenanigan.
Hey, it's kind of like what they say with the Blitzcrank hook. You miss the ones you don't take, right? You're going to miss all the ones you don't take. If you don't try the bushwhack in the bot lane, you're never going to get success out of it.
And the only thing they're really going to lose is the fact that VP will be able to get vision on where the enemy jungler is starting. So it's not necessarily a massive deficit. It's not a huge issue, but it will give VP a little bit more control, a little bit more knowledge at the very early stages of the game.
Nice safe warding. That's what we like here. We promote safe wards.
With a buddy. That's super important as well.
With a buddy. This looks like Pride doing a little bit of hovering. Make sure nobody is tucked into the wolf camp or in any precarious positions. A little Orb of Deception help. QQ Moore should have a pretty decent start here. Go for the small ones. Onto his big. Good help from Doxy as well. It might give Pride a slight edge to level.
So we can see that with Lee Sin starting on the bot side, you're setting up for the ability to be able to gank the top half of the map. Very likely QQ Moore going to be looking to try and get himself the early Scuttle Crab in the river, because one of the big trouble lanes that Isurus Gaming are going to have is going to be up against this Renekton, especially with Doxy playing on it. We talked about he is one of the star players of VP, and as an individual, he is considered one of, if not the best, in the LCL league. So I think that there are high expectations on him, and when he's able to have this kind of a champion, we get to see how much pressure he's able to put onto Pride.
Very interesting here from Creox. Holds Smite on red, keeps himself going, misses the bump, so we'll get the Smite onto blue. QQ Moore would have lost this fight even if he went for it, but nice job by Creox. be able to stop the pressure here on this one. Mid could get a little bit of love, though, from QQ more. It seems like Paranoia is going to be aware of that. Does have to blow Ghost, though.
Interesting pathing from Paranoia.
Yeah.
He ends up spotting out QQ and then walks back into the lane, but this will delay QQ's pathing even more. They already had insight as to where on the map QQ was starting, but the fact that he tried to go for this invade means that Krux will now already be level 3. He's going to be able to go back to base earlier, pick up his jungle item earlier, and he's just going to be faster on so many more of the early jungle game plays as we see a bit of a trade up in top lane.
The minions. That's when it comes down to the minions, and you have to back out of the fight. Flash was blown by Doxy. Could be a 5-minute repeat here if QQ more. I should say first gank wouldn't even be a repeat. That was all done by Pride. And that was Pride. He was level 2 first in that lane. Doxy was helping with those Raptors, so he's been able to utilize that small advantage.
You can already see a slight CS discrepancy. VP Doxy being forced to use his teleport very early on just to try and mitigate some of the early pressure that he did end up losing. But this is all right for Isurus Gaming. You can see they've actually got a lot of good pushing down in the bottom lane. A heal even being burned down onto Santos after he takes a lot of harassment. There. And so now what we see is Emp. He's going a little bit behind, but he has just back to base, so it's not too bad. He will be able to pick up some farm. Top lane is pushing in favor of Isurus. They have bottom lane pushing, and this is giving QQ more a lot of freedom. You can see him moving towards the top half of the enemy jungle, give them a little bit more control, enable Pride to have this safer laning phase, given that the bottom lane is fully aware that Krux is trying to make something happen.
Kriox safety. And QQ Mora is going to be able to do a bit of work on the jungle, staying just top side of any minions that would be coming. It's very easy to see if you watch the minion wave on the bot side. It'll cross the same time at top. Pride also blows that teleport to top, so those will be a little disjointed. Doxy may be able to come up with a level 6 play to bot lane if they're getting aggressed on. But as of right now, Pride full control in this lane, and he may get some help from QQ Mora here in a second.
He's actually looking to get a bit of an invade going on. He knows that the Raptors have spawned, and he wants to try and contest.
Oh, ever so slowly, those point of origin cues, trying to get something to tack on if the opponent jumps on you. So very difficult, and QQ Mora doing what he can, takes avoid spikes. This is going to be quite 10 more seconds, quite a long time before he can break this execution. Doxy's given up.
I think he's going to get it.
And it's going to be one. Oh, he gets the bounce on him. First blood, and the assist still goes to Paranoia. Very helpful.
So QQ Mora, he gets a little bit too greedy.
Yeah.
Is the reality of it. He knew that Pride was pushing. He knew that Emp was pushing. He felt like, hey, my laners, they have control right now. They can come support me. But he did not expect Krux to be in the bush and started to force the fight. It was actually Paranoia and Doxy that were the first ones to move. They definitely sacrificed some farm as a result. But overall, VP, they still get themselves the first blood. Krux is going to have a much better time in this early jungle. We were wondering in Champion Select, how would Krux be able to? He does have a tendency to go more towards the Lee Sin rather than the Kazakhs. But this will definitely be a great start for him to start snowballing the rest of the early game.
There's an interesting choice by QQ Mora. And the pathing from Newbie causes him to flash. Smite goes down, Kriox gets a little bit of health back, but he's going to lose his life for it. Blue buff ultimate transfer back over to Emp as Kriox got QQ more refresh. So this thing is just cycling around the map, and Isurus picked themselves one up.
So Isurus, they were playing the long game. That was it. They just wanted to get the blue on the mid laner. And now they're posturing around the middle lane, but this time Virtus Pro, they were the aggressors. They were the ones looking to get some deep vision, try and steal away the enemy Raptors. And I feel like, Riv, that these Raptors are the bait reel here. They're the ones drawing the enemy jungler in, and the lure is just too strong. A very swift rotation down from Emp, being the level 6, enables him to get that early kill. And now he's the one that's going to have a lot more control. He's going to be the one to hit that Morello much earlier than Paranoia will.
Kindless able to farm up at his turret, so the rest of the team playing safe. A BF sword to tier stacking in that lane. So they may have to be ready to use that Zyra disengage at some point coming up.
That is not what you want.
No, it's not. But the farm is going to come back at blasting, so he can just kind of hang out under the turret if he doesn't push this too hard. It seems like Kindless is doing a nice job at keeping it that 75% mark, so they do have a bit of a lane to fight it if they want.
Also keeping my eyes on that Infernal Drake as well. Likely to be a big point of contention between the two teams. When we look at the early game strength, both teams really do have a lot of scaling behind them, mainly behind both the mid laners and the AD carries. The big difference is between the Ahri and the Orianna. Usually an Ahri, if she does decide to go full Morellonomicon build, she actually has a very big spike at that point in the game, whereas Orianna really prefers the 2-item spike. She wants to be able to have the Luden's Echo or the Leandries under her belt as well. Just she wants that second item to really be that big team fighting power. So Isurus, I feel like with the advantage that they've now gained off the back of getting that kill onto Krauts, and once he completes his first item, we want to be seeing roams. We want to be seeing this map movement down to the bottom lane, using the pushing power of this Caitlyn Lulu to net yourself the first early tower. Well,
the pushing power right now is going to net them entry into the jungle. QQ Moore timing the blue off of the previous ward, and he'll get help from Newbie here. So as we said, power in numbers, we like to promote that. And it looks like Isurus Gaming continues to move their vision forward, tries to work off what is right now an even game. Oh, the dodge by Paranoia just to the left. Very nicely done, dodge and a miss. I think both, half of both. But it's going to be blue over to Paranoia.
That was smooth, Paranoia. That was really, really nice. You can see that when you funnel into that small choke point, you're asking to get hit by a skill shot. And Paranoia, he kind of got the bait and switch, right? Just before he moved up, he then moved back in, able to get the sidestep. And he doesn't end up falling to the charm. Is still able to get himself the blue buff as well. So he's going to be a happy camper in the mid lane. And no death goes down in favor of Isurus Gaming. So we're having a bit of a slow game to start off the day.
Yeah, and it's only going to get slower with things like that, right? Foxfire, Spirit Rush goes down. Paranoia is a little bit safer in mid. We may see something from their end, as Emp is a little bit more gankable now, but that was Paranoia's ghost to be used. Have to see if any of these turrets can really gain pressure. As you said, it's kind of a Raptor has turned into the big objective of this game, and that's where all the power is going.
But now that Krauts has actually gotten a bit of deep vision down the bottom half of Isurus Gaming map, Isurus is gaming jungle rather. He's actually looking to start off this red buff. He knows that Lee Sin, given this ward that he has actually around the blue area, spotted him out. And Isurus Gaming, they have no idea. Really good awareness from Krauts to just pick up this objective for free.
That feels great too, because to them, Kriax has seen QQ Moore in his face the whole time. They realize that Isurus has been trying to promote so much advantage, and then they're able to sneak that one out right under the skin after kind of defending the whole time. Doxy, a Tiamat just a bit ago as he returns to lane, so we'll have a little bit more push and pressure on that lane.
The big problem for Doxy right now is the fact that the Ninja Tower have already been completed, but we have a gank in the bottom lane.
Over to the minions, ward hot, Santos gets kicked back, popped up as well from Kindless's Wild Growth. And they come up with a kill in the bot lane. We'll see how much push they can get down on this.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy for Isurus Gaming. They just walk into the lane. They have full vision control in the river. VP, the overstep just too slightly. Santos, he can't even flash away.
No, he was kind of like, okay, I'm dead. I'll hold everything. I'm going to hold it.
It's like, I accept defeat. And this will allow Isurus Gaming to start just chunking down onto this tower. So good pressure from them.
Yep.
And now Krax, he's forced to move to the bottom side because he's paranoid with a little bit of a dive. But fortunately for Paranoia, he is keeping them in lane. Just look, you're extended, absolutely zero vision.
It's so scary up here.
It certainly is.
Afraid of the dark.
Well, no, they weren't. That was the problem, Rick. They were playing with the dark, and the dark bit back.
Clean play there as they used every ability necessary to take Santos down without the help of Blasting. Blasting did blow his flash, but kind of meaningless on an Ezreal. He'll still just shift around and keep himself safe. Oh, Emp walks right into the frying pan, and VP have snuck into the jungle.
Swift kill from Virtus Pro. Krax has done a great job of maintaining control around the bottom half of Isurus Gaming jungle. And he too moves with a buddy, so that means that Santos is able to get himself a bit of revenge onto Isurus Gaming. They catch Emp out and he can't even flash himself. So a lot of small picks coming out here and there from either team, not really respecting the vision control from their opposition.
The proactive hit's definitely helping for VP. We mentioned earlier, it's not a full engaged team, unless it's kind of conditional. They have to hit the ball, they have to get it on Kha'Zix there if they can just get the picks. And they have all the siege power they want, 5v4. Kindless now to the bot side. They have the entire jungle to run through. That becomes harder when the top tier of turrets is still out, but they're making it look easy. VP continuing to go back and forth here. Both Both teams trading well.
It's a little surprising, the lack of respect that both teams have, but just the darkness that is on the map right now.
That is true.
Isurus Gaming feeling confident because you can see this little ward that Lulu is currently walking over. They thought, hey, you know what, I can see, but Kindness clearly wasn't looking in that part of the map. Ends up getting caught off by Santos, forced to burn both of his summoners after not having his support available to him. And this is going to give a little bit more control of it lasting.
More fights? More fights because we can. That's what they're saying between Pride and Doxy right now. Throws the barrel down for the walk to the channel. But they actually don't follow him down towards blue and get choked up in there. Another fight. See, this is actually like the disruption. Keeps them out of lane. Allows the turrets to keep taking chip damage, or somebody's there for a second. It's a lot of discombobulation, if you will, before something comes together each time. And those little lulls always gives one of the teams a huge opportunity to come back. So you never really know.
It's also about these little spikes. Notice the paranoia. He has just completed his Morellonomicon, right? So Virtus Pro, they feel confident. They want to try and use these itemization advantages that they have over their laning counterparts. And after that early kill that Amp got, you would expect him to be able to reach this point first, but then Amp was the guy who died just a second ago to Paranoia, equalizing that out. So Virtus Pro right now, this is the sort of early, this is the kind of game that they often play, right? We saw early on in the tournament where they were a skirmish-heavy team. Often they actually fell behind very early on into the game, but they were able to claw their way back in. They were able to find these small picks here and there, but they too do not respect vision, and you have both these teams who are just playing a little bit too carefree because in their own region, domestically, they probably would have been punished for making these kind of plays, and now you're seeing both these teams finding avenues to try and take advantage of it.
Well, that's the thing as well, as we look on, it's still early in day 4, but we are in day 4, and these teams have to look towards that NA, that Taiwan placement of the LMS. So who are they going to go against? Who is going to take control of those situations? When you hesitate, when you make a mistake, they are going to have to turn the switch on much faster as they come into these next games, if they make it through. A lot of work to be done here by Isurus Gaming and VP after the first day of play for them in Group B. And here they try to make their mark in the first game of day 4. 2-2, 15 minutes in. And we'll see. Doxy wants to put a little bit of love to the bot lane. QQ Moore taking a lot of damage. Oh, Creox playing the ring around the Rosie, and he can't find a way out. Ruthless Predator locks down QQ Moore. And Kindless as well goes down.
In the mid lane as well. Shockwave just ended up getting burned from Paranoia. So VP, they have turned this game on. They have pushed it into 3rd gear, and they are looking to take this early tower down. They noticed that, bear in mind, remember that when you're playing against the Caitlyn Lulu, they're all about trying to push onto this tower. It's getting low. They want to try and solidify that, but they did not realize that there was a crocodile lying in wait right behind them. Kindness, remember, he used all of his summoner spells earlier on in the play, which means that they end up losing their tower, they end up losing their lives, and Virtus Pro gains so much more control of the map.
Almost had the end of it. Help picks Q, gets the slowdown. Oh my word, they're everywhere right now as Paranoia tries to get back to lane. Isurus Gaming comes out of the woodwork and come up with a much needed kill.
Great patience there from Pride. He realized that Paranoia had the flash. He knew that, you know what, you're gonna flash eventually, you're gonna have to, and if you don't, we're gonna kill you, and if you do, you're gonna die as well. Paranoia, he went for the best play that he could. Unfortunately for him, it was not enough. Another kill goes in the favor of Isurus Gaming, but they're still behind in terms of gold. They weren't able to get themselves that mid lane tower. The play happened after Virtus Pro had already just gone back to base and were on their way back. So now this is fine because Paranoia, he can start moving wherever he wants. Send him up top, send him down bot. With the Dragon being live, Virtus Pro, they've got a clear eye of what they want next.
More plays like that need to happen. We just see VP from mid to bot. They're rotating like they have the 2nd tier of turrets down that fast through the jungle. Isurus Gaming finally able to take a little bit back. The Dragon was taken, but here comes Pride on the TP. They're onto Creox. He's going to go down as the orb comes back. And now they're onto Doxy. Ace in the hole, finds his target. And that's a 1-2. Going onto the side of Isurus Gaming. Able to trade one back, but Pride in range tries to get himself away from the Stranglethorn. And he will not go down to the True Shot Barrage. So the team funnels down to the bot lane. They should get the turret.
Ends up being a 2-for-1 overall. But notice that VP, they have priority around mid. Emp, he doesn't have his ultimate either. So even though VP should very little lose that tower down the bottom lane, VP can trade it for a 1 in mid. So they end up getting themselves the Dragon, they end up getting themselves the tower, and they only end up losing 1 member. So this is still a fine play from Isurus Gaming to get something back. But this is just a situation where you're forcing a 5 versus 4. The ward had already been set up behind VP. Tried Katifi in to cut off the escape route of Kraox and the gang. And Doxy, he was just left out to dry. He got skinned pretty effectively from Kindless. But then the shockwave, the surprise, Paranoia coming out of the shadows. They had the control ward there as well to deny vision, meaning that they were not expecting that wave. One could call it a shock.
Yeah, absolutely they could. And one could say Isurus Gaming now feels comfortable to start pulling the trigger on this engaged composition they created in Champion Select. And we can see VP has to be ready to absorb everything because we saw the good shockwave. It just has to happen a little bit earlier. Paranoia still getting the kills in, still able to put out some power as we see the Abyssal Scepter and a few other things being created by him. And that needlessly large rod for Emp. Still waiting for the lanes to open up enough. Doxy obviously trying to get that strength in the bot side here. What can VP kind of look for now? Or are they really just waiting for another try from Isurus Gaming?
Well, I think that they're still working towards this 2-item spike. You can see the Paranoia very well likely heading towards a death cap second. You see a bit of an exchange up top.
Take that. Wild growth out. Kindless using just about everything in the kitchen sink to keep himself safe. 2K gold lead for VP, and actually it seems like QQ more doesn't like the pressure on the top side anymore. They're not going to go hard on it, but they may try to go for Paranoia.
Well, MP is feeling pretty strong right now. He does have the ultimate at Ignite just about coming up. Here we are, the collapse coming down onto Paranoia.
It's just got vision from that scrying orb. He's saying no. Ooh, nice dodge. Fancy feet. He says,
2 for 2 now.
I know how to play the ballerina. I'll dance around these. Yeah, throws up the banner.
But to go back to what you were saying earlier, if VP, right now, their composition really spikes with the 2 items, right? Kraox with the Black Cleaver is likely what he's working towards. Doxy also likely to pick up either the Ravenous Hydra or the Titanic one. He has the pick of the litter, depending on what he wants to go for. And then Orianna, very likely going towards the Death Cap and the Trinity Force for blasting. So for VP, they just want to stall, wait a little while, and then with the Baron spawning, we'll start to see more activity from VP from the 22 to the 25, where that becomes the big objective for them. But Isurus Gaming, they have big spikes now. They want to try and force things, especially with the Ari. She wants to be moving around the map, trying to find picks, and that's where you see QQ more investing wards very deep into VP's jungle because they want to try and punish VP as they're making these map movements.
Understanding even a forced fight is their advantage at this point. Looks like just a bit too much vision for them to get that engage on for Isurus Gaming. Bot lane, beautiful job by Doxy here. He can't really see where Pride is. It'll cut that push just a little bit short. Top lane still getting that love. We did just see and QQ more try to get the top lane, and they were about to run over wards just to do it. So I actually expect that to happen in a few minutes and them not care about the wards altogether. These lanes are pushed up enough for them to have that time up there.
Keeping my eyes well on the amount of vision that is just straight up coming out from Isurus Gaming throughout the top half of the river. Look at all these control wards. Like they are saying, you know what? We're tired of you trying to kill our bottom lane. We will deny you that opportunity.
I feel like Pride can obviously just go a little bit harder on Doxy too. Just body slam away at whatever situation to keep himself safe. Teleport is up for both, so we'd be ready for those. A very nice deep ward by Isurus Gaming as a possibility right in front of the red buff of VP. But other than that, that would be the way in if the engage happens.
All right, so look at this now. Death Cap done for Paranoia. Blasting very likely to go back, and there is the Trinity Force. So this is where we start to see VP now putting on the accelerator. We already saw them make that play down the bottom lane. But then the issue was that they end up getting picked. They feel too overconfident. They are a very momentum-based team that when things start to go well, they get a little bit too full of energy, right? And then they use that energy in the wrong way, and they end up getting punished for it. So what we need to see from them now is understanding the item spikes that they have and properly setting up for it. Dragon is going to be spawning in about 40 seconds. You can already see Doxy hanging around that area saying, hey guys, like maybe we should look towards picking up this objective. The Baron is live too, so they want to maintain control over that.
And I love the way that that build worked for Paranoia. As we said, the 2-item spike to hit. But he's up against these Ninja Tabis. Nobody's really building magic resistance just yet. So that power spike of the Rabadons. That Sork boots later. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'll get shoes in a bit.
I need to get my wizard hat before I get the shoes, right?
And your robe, right? 5v5, 5-2-5. Not 5, it's still 5v5. That wasn't wrong. Well, we'll see. No huge discrepancy in any of the CS. It's evened out. It's down to the summoners, the champions, and what items have been created at this point. Right now, the siege finally happening towards that top side. Mid's getting pushed in by Paranoia, so he's drawing respect from M. And Pride is in a 2v1 in the bot. Forced flash, but now they see two that might be in the gauge to the top side.
Isurus Gaming utilizing these traps very nicely to just zone away Virtus Pro, with the jungler being in the bottom half of the map. Their eyes are on the turret, but Virtus Pro, they're saying, you know what, we'll get ourselves the dragon if we know your jungler's in the top half. Yeah. This builds very nicely towards that Elder Dragon, which we are definitely heading towards. But also keep your eyes on the mid lane. Paranoia putting a lot of pressure down onto M.
Ult for ult. Ghost now goes down. Flash as well. Kriox was saying, I have your back. Oh, he's going to go.
Oh, don't be shopping.
He's getting. Oh, he's not. He shops, but he still has his eye. They don't even have wars down there, so he was just thinking, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Does not feel good.
I've seen this before.
Kriox as well in a bit of a tight spot here. He's going to get himself out. So push to the top side.
Yep.
Blasting actually getting that down. Respect's going to have to be called here. We'll see how Isurus now answers after their turret take top.
Well, with the siege composition that you have from Isurus,
yep,
they're just working their way around the rest of the map. And now you're going up against the Orianna, the core wave player of Virtus Pro. So sure, you may have been able to take bottom top, but things will be getting much harder for you at this point in time now. Pride, bear in mind, he doesn't have his flash, but it's just two ships passing in the wind.
It's probably just good game. Good game so far. Yeah, great job. We'll get a replay of this.
All right, so the charm hits. Oh, he gets bored under tower. He takes like 2 tower shots and then...
So it was... That's why he felt so good to go in. The ult was actually just previously.
Yeah.
It was about 30 seconds ago.
Paranoia was trying to send a message earlier on saying, you know, this is my lane. You need to get out. And then Emp was like, I think it's actually my lane.
It's so hard. We talked about that matchup just the other day, is where you feel good about hitting Ahri in lane with balls. You might hit her with one of the shockwaves, and then she is actually waiting the whole game to dodge that next one, just make you whiff. It becomes a very hard mental game for the Ori player to just keep your ball where it is.
And Ahri is a great champion for punishing your long cooldown, right?
Yeah,
you use
absolutely.
That ultimate, that is a big window for Ahri to just dive on top of you and say, you've got no damage left. And she can dip and dive and dodge, and that's why she's often considered a great pick into the Orianna. She also has the ability to move off onto a side lane. Look, you can already see Emp moving to the top half of the map. There is no dragon for them to play around, so they can start to play this 1-3-1. They have plenty of wave clear, they have plenty of heal for the Caitlyn, so it's absolutely fine to keep her mid lane. You just have Emp just darting up and down, maintaining control of the river, telling VP, you know what, this Baron is going to remain in our control for the time being.
Quicksilver Sash for Kindless has been there for a bit to keep himself in a better position for these fights. Newbie is giving him the Whimsy and the shield. He's getting everything as he should. Pride and Kukimore, they can keep themselves safe, but that's big. That's what Kindless should have just got, as we were saying. Emp's going to try to now head in for the side. Kriox now with Kriox with the ult down, as it just kind of teams absorbing ults, not helping anybody.
Yeah, so you should not face check brushes, Riv. This late into the game.
2 flashes, 2 ults.
Yeah, definitely not what you want to be doing. Now, Kriox, this guy likes to jump in. He needs to calm down, friend, because he's in a tricky situation. I don't know, Riv. I don't know.
It's like a half engage, but they want to flash away from to get it. I don't know.
The problem for VP is they're very much like, we want to fight. We want to try and make something happen. You know, we talked a lot about these spikes and how they're feeling that, like, they're in a position right now, especially at this point in the game, 22 to 25 minutes, especially with Baron on the cards. They want to be saying, you know what, we want to take it to Isurus Gaming, but have no engage tools. We talked about this in Champion Select. How is the Renekton going to be able to reliably make a fight happen? You're going up against a Gragas, a Lulu, the Lee Sin kick too.
It's hard. You say no to that situation, right? If it's 9 out of 10 times, if we don't find that 10th engage that we don't have to flash out of, then don't take it. Very scary here. This is that one of the 9 out of 10 times. They almost got the kill onto Emp, but they come up short. And VP doing what they need to do. And Isurus keeping themselves safe, but they had to use the ult.
But look at this. Like, Emp, all he had to do was burn his ultimate there. Like, that cost him nothing, right? Yeah. And so Isurus Gaming can just keep doing this, keep playing the 1-3-1, and they have Caitlyn to just slowly siege onto these towers. And VP, sure, they have the Orianna, but if they have good control over the enemy jungle, they can swiftly rotate her up and down, and then that makes it very difficult for VP to be able to deal with that kind of tower taking pressure.
A little bit of late rotation. Nope, now QQ is finally going to get here. Turret goes down though. VP slowly working around the fights now, because they cannot find them. They will lose them if they do.
So this is a bit of a mistake from Isurus Gaming, because what you want to be doing is, if VP send 3 members up to the top side, rather than respond and defend, you should be trying to trade that, right? So you have a big issue with Orianna in the mid lane. Oh, well, imagine if you now have 3 or 4 members in the mid, that Orianna can't stay there anymore. You can just straight up dive her, especially with some of the deep vision that Isurus had earlier. You can bring Pride over to the mid lane, you can set up an effective dive. You now get yourself the mid tower and a lot more control over the map. But instead, they tried to respond to the pressure of VP, and that is exactly where they want. That is the situation where VP are forcing you to group up, and that's where they can better utilize their composition.
See how fast Emp can catch up. He starts to fall behind in CS, which means he's going to fall behind in 3rd, 4th core items that Paranoia will start to dance around these fights with. He can start to get a little bit more cooldown as well. His blue buff would obviously help. But there are definitely game-changing ultimates on both sides. They've been sharing a lot of CS on the side of Isurus Gaming as VP is getting this push, so I'm not sure when Emp's going to get that CS back, but it may be the kills first. Heading in, Stranglethorn goes down. Santas corners himself into the Raptor pit, keeps himself safe, but again, we're back to the same position now. Waves are just about even on the top side. Respect to the bottom for Pride, but now they need to yo-yo the fight and find the one they need on side of VP.
This time around, though, with Isurus getting themselves the push in mid, they actually are the prime contenders for this Dragon. But still, they're showing too much respect towards VP. They are aware that they are in a gold deficit. Look at how strong this Caitlyn is right now. The Infinity Edge and the Runan's Hurricane have been completed. But I'm expecting a fight here, Rin.
Ardent Sensor from Newbie as well, right off the bat. Kindless running fervor this game, so he's not going to get those Warlord procs. Pride looking at Creox. Doxy can get to the back line, but he has QQ more now and Pride waiting for him. That's going to be the Ocean Drake. A little bit more sustain here for Isurus Gaming as they move around the map. They've just been defending turrets lately. This is the move. Pride goes in with the flash. Nobody can really follow up with him. True shot barrage to the back line. Is blasting over the wall. Yes, he does from the blue buff. Can he get kills on the back line? It's already 2 now for Isurus Gaming. Blasting's forced to get out, and now he goes down. They've only lost Newbie. A double kill for Emp. Beautiful fight from Isurus Gaming.
And finally we get the fight that we wanted. Isurus Gaming getting themselves 4 for 1, and that Baron is the next objective that they have their eyes on.
QQ Moore's in. Doxy could have a go for broke. His flash is down. It would only be the slice in. The dice would not connect. It looks like he's heading for mid for the CIS. Isurus Gaming pull the trigger. They come up with a handful of kills, 4 kills. And now the Baron, 30 minutes in.
Virtus Pro, their coordination around that fight is not what you want to be happening. They were completely zoned off by the traps and the Gragas barrel with Blasting and Doxy on the wrong side of the map. It makes it so easy for both QQ and Emp to be able to get the flank onto the 2 low mobility squishy targets and shut them down immediately. Blasting ends up jumping over the wall to only lose his life. And Virtus Pro, the coordination just was not there.
It feels good to come to a Dragon fight, almost with the Renekton on the back line. Yeah. You can see Caitlyn there, but as soon as they turn on your entire team, you're the only one over the wall, right? And it's very hard to get to the fight. Isurus Gaming just making you out of position like that in that fight.
It's one of those things that we've talked a lot about with these wildcard teams. They always feel like they have to fight for the objectives. If a team is grouping up around something, the teams always feel the need to contest it rather than just trade it. Like, it's an Ocean Drake. What do you really lose if you're not in a position to make that fight happen, right? So Virtus Pro, I feel like in that situation, they should have said, you know what, guys, let's just give them 1. We have 3. I feel like that's a fair trade. Like, we've been doing fine in the game. We have a solid gold advantage. But now Virtus Pro, after trying to make a fight happen, after being in a situation that they really couldn't have won, they end up losing the Baron, they've lost their mid tower, and now we'll start to see the 1-3-1 coming out from Isurus Gaming. The sieging power of this Caitlyn Lulu is going to be atrocious for Virtus Pro to be able to deal with.
And we see what that does to the game, though. Evens it right up. Virtus Pro had done all that work on the outer ring of turrets, getting their gold early. Then it's swept back up by Isurus Gaming. Another one picked up with 4 kills. And that was a 2-1-2 or 2-1 and something. Emp now a 5-1-2. And he was just an item behind Paranoia, now right with him.
And the ironic part about all this is if Vedius had picked themselves a melee support, which is what we conventionally see from them, they would have had a better way to force these fights. Something like a Thresh, maybe like a Nautilus, to just land that hook and be the initiator to really kick things off. It would have been a better situation for Vedius to be able to force the mid-game fights that they wanted and utilize this early lead that they had built for themselves.
What is next? ISG in the driver's seat, and they are starting to use Emp in those side lanes. It's the mid now, but aside from his team, he is off in the distance doing a little bit of work. Phantom Dancer now built up here, so Kindless, he has all this survivability and death-defying stuff to be using. And it has helped him. Newbie has actually wild growthed himself the last few fights, and Kindless has still found a way to keep himself alive.
Well, think of how difficult it is for Vedius to even get on top of Kindless, let alone kill him, right? Like, Vedius, they kind of have to kill the front line before they can even consider getting onto the back. And then to make things even worse, every time Pride and QQ go in, you have Emp flanking around with his ultimate, taking these creative paths to dive onto those low mobility squishies and making just life difficult for the side of Vedius. And
you can see how much now they know how big Emp is. They use the 3-man coupon and go back and buy the Negatron clothes. Everybody can get a little more survivability. Almost a spot for a shot. See if Paranoia leads it. Kindless gets the ult. There's the shield. If he was attacking, you get the heal from Ardent Sensor, but you see just how hard it is and just how much was used from VP to not come up with a kill.
Emp the madman. Criticism has been given towards him after his performance on the first day of Group B, but he really has been stepping it up. Sure, he hasn't landed every single charm, but he has been landing some key ones.
Zoning charm.
Yeah, you know, you got to throw him out, right, Riv? It's a low cooldown. You have the mana. You just may as well take the gamble, because every so often,
you miss all the charms you don't throw, Vedius.
Exactly.
I would say that about every skill this weekend. Good lord. 10-6. Finally, they start to bolster that gold lead with a few objectives, along with champions. 10-6 here, and that is the 3K gold lead. Turrets start to fall in favor of Isurus Gaming, and this has to feel good. It's 0-3. They needed to start making a mark on the day, and this confidence is really going to help.
Vedius now, they are on the back foot. The gold deficit isn't so massive that they aren't able to come back from it. They still have a pretty powerful team fighting composition. It's just very much about how quickly they can shut down that front line. Because the thing about Isurus' composition is they're always going to be grouping up as a multi-man unit to try and siege down onto these towers. And the fact that they will often send Emp off to a side lane, send Pride down to the bottom lane, perhaps when that cluster comes from Kindless and Newbie, that's the window that you have to try and take advantage of. But it's so difficult when you don't have that key engage tool.
Oh, Kindless thinks he has the opening on the fight. Over the Raptor pick comes Creox. Is it too much damage? Does it start the fight in favor of VP? The shockwave goes down onto Kindless, and this could be what VP needed to get back in. They can't find the fight, but they have to find the pick.
Look at Emp, look at Emp.
Emp around the corner. Oh, he gets zeroed out immediately. What was he thinking? QQ Moore was there for the heal. Creox still on the outside. QQ Moore now very low. Summoners use Creox in to draw the fight. Over the wall goes blasting for another kill. And the long fight goes in favor of VP.
Vedius get the fight that they were so desperately after. They're able to shut down Kindless. Emp just gives himself over to the side of Vedius, but the question is, what objectives can they get off the back of it? Those are fairly short death timers, but Vedius, they can be happy with the fight win.
So big and confident with a Lulu behind him. Kindless walked right into the entire team of Vedius.
Oh, he did. And he was not expecting Creox to be over the wall, lying in wait, ruthless with his prey. And now the Elder Dragon, we talked about that possible win condition, but let's see if Pride can stop it.
Creox to the back, he's gonna take a lot of damage. He could get it for the team though. That's a 3-stack Elder. Now going over, does he have the ability to get out? The ultimate on once. Gonna look for the next one, gets the jump, has his team with him, and Pride may have to turn, doesn't even get the buff. And we can see behind him coming his his king. He has Kindless right there, but it's not going to be enough.
So let's see how this fight happens. Kindless, he just oversteps. He thinks he wants to try and trade onto Blasting and doesn't respect ground. Just jumping from over the wall. The immediate flank from Doxy as well into the Shockwave. The ball delivery system from the front line of Virtus Pro. And look, Emp and QQ are nowhere to be seen. Emp, he gets a lot of damage off, but immediate response from the rest of Virtus Pro. They were lying in wait. They were ready to punish him. And they were able to get themselves that shutdown.
That's exactly what was lacking at the Dragon fight, is the communication to call the audible, assess the fight, and retake it as soon as they had a backline and somebody was there.
And we talked about it, right? Isurus Gaming, they're going to be sending their members to multiple lanes.
Yeah.
When the cluster comes as a three-man unit, that's the window that VP need to try and take advantage of. And that's exactly what they do. Kindness made it a little bit easier for them. Great on Virtus Pro to see that window and immediately jump onto that opportunity.
That was necessary as well. There's about 6 to 7 vision wards in the inventory of ISG at the time, and we saw VP, it may have seemed like little, but their inventories were stacked. They actually didn't have wards to place for, so to find that fight and allow themselves to get vision back on the map was really the 1-2 that needed to happen in that order. Bot turret's now going to need to have some respect on it by Pride, which is going to give the team a little time to breathe towards the top side of the map. ISG is probably still itching to get another engage just like that, though. I'm sure they won't hesitate.
Remember, the ISG, they did win the previous fight. They are still a very strong setup, and Emp has been playing out of his mind for a lot of this game.
Going for some hero plays now.
Yeah, he needs to chill out, though, Emp. Like, you're strong, dude, but you can't just go head first into the lion's den. So now we see, still very even in gold, very tense game. Both teams fighting for their lives, because if Isurus Gaming lose this, then they are done so. They cannot come back. But if Virtus Pro lose, then it becomes even harder for them to find their way back in, because even if Gigabyte Marines were to win their next game, Virtus Pro can still go 3-0 on the day. They can still create this tiebreaker scenario. And now we see the Baron being kicked off for the side of Isurus Gaming.
Good choice. They know they don't need to take it. Oh. This would have worked out amazingly if the team was already routing that minion wave down mid. Doxy would have been able to stop them with a little defensive Renekton wall. But now they still kind of get the same aspect. Oh, that was interesting by ISG to pull down. Nothing was there for the mid lane, but one wave.
Oh no.
Emp should be fine. A few more to go. Redemption comes in. He gets slowed by the spikes. May not be able to take him down. His Spirit Rush is gone, and Emp may be too. One time after another, he gives his team time to work down mid lane, but it does not come up in his favor for this one.
We were praising Emp for having such a great game, and then he is the individual that ends up getting caught out. He has given VP the window to go for this Baron. Can QQ will get the steal?
QQ kicks him back in, doesn't have the Q to follow. Well, he did, but did not, I should say. They're going to go for the inhib. If he can keep them here, he plays the don't back game. The team now can get out. They might even be able to kill Doxy on the way out, but that even becomes scarier because you don't know where VP is coming from. They choose the safe. They choose to follow their breadcrumbs home they left on the way in.
Now Virtus Pro, they had the early game lead. They dropped it in the mid game after some great fighting from Isurus Gaming. But then just Emp, 2 key moments when he gave the big window to Virtus Pro, dying in that team fight by diving headfirst into it, followed by this pickup in the top lane. It's so sad because there was initial criticism behind the individual, how he wasn't stepping up. Then he was 5-1-4 in this game so far, to then being a large part of the reason as to why Isurus Gaming are now in the situation that they are in. But there is still time for Isurus Gaming. They have the Caitlyn, they have the wave clear. And the split pushing power of VP is not as strong as that of Isurus. So all they have to do is just delay as long as they can, slow out the Baron, and maybe even get a pick.
Oh, these face checks, Vedius, they are making things spicy. Doxy there on the heels of Creox, able to keep him safe. Mid lane is at an even. This is going to play in favor of VP. They're ready to push. They do not have vision as they move up on their shoulders, though. Doxy's really the only one who knows where everybody is. This could be a little scary.
Bit of an interesting kick, though. QQ probably not getting the direction that he quite wanted. But still, Isurus Gaming, they hold the line. There's the top lane wave as well.
Getting the cupcake cleanups. Santas will be able to see that range from Caitlyn coming up, so he knows how far that Kindless is. Pride backing off. Doxy says, I'm all right to see what we'll waste on my Guardian Angel. He's just not ready to pop it. Coming up on 42 minutes, it looks like the team here knows they can get routed around the second tier turret. VP starting to come around with Kriax. Mid lane has been pushed in, coming through with Santos. We'll see how VP plays the outside of the base with really no siege to be had. It's got to be ISG going in and making a mistake.
Virtus Pro, the low range champions, definitely make things difficult. They want to try and get themselves onto the turret. But you can see now that Virtus Pro, they're still playing around 2 different lanes. Yeah. Trying to utilize the Baron as much as they can. A minute still left on it.
It's going to be all about top side here. That wave is gigantic, and it's the same scenario as bottom. Too hard to defend, or ISG says too risky to defend in a fight. We may lose too many.
Yeah, they're just going to have to sacrifice this tower. Isurus Gaming, not the worst thing in the world, but as we see Santos, he's actually taking a fair amount of damage.
Nice ball placement. Oh, Santos walks back. The redemption gets him to kind of fake himself out as he stays in position. Again, Pride comes up with a big body slam play, and Doxy is working off the ball. The other side of the map being destroyed. And now we finally have those inhibitors open for the side of ISG. Krayax now onto Pride. He's not going to go down. It looks like he'll stay safe in this situation. It's going to be Emp versus Doxy on the bot side as they go for the top inhibitor now. He's going to be able to drop it and almost get the fight. Ruthless Predator goes down. The 3v1 and the G8 to pop. So Doxy's always going to be soaking up the time. Glitterlance takes him down, and he's just going to come back up with the help of his team.
Doxy, he needs to just get out of this situation, but he's done his job. He gets himself the bottom inhibitor. The top inhibitor has now been exposed. The Baron has just ran out. So Virtus Pro, even after losing their support, are still able to come out on top.
Doing a beautiful job of organizing their CS to mid and top as well. A lot of it, as we said, for Isurus Gaming here has been soaked up by the entire team, so you're seeing a bit of that discrepancy. But as we get up to full items, it's almost not going to matter. As we say, it's up to how the champions are played and what summoners are up. A lot blown for ISG in that last fight.
And remember that at this point in the game, one bad team fight could just give the entire game over to their opponent. There are very long timers. Team compositions are very important, but they can mean less and less depending on the amount of gold that you have. So now we see this situation where it becomes harder for Virtus Pro to continue on with these fights because of how straight up tanky Pride is. And now as a 5-man unit, Isurus Gaming, they want to try and challenge this inhibitor.
So it's one of those 45-minute freight train fights, as they call it. You hit the team fight, you win it, and you're a freight train right down mid lane. The teleport from Doxy. Remember, his GA's down. Kriax is up, but he's holding himself outside. Wild growth on the Kindness. The Ardent Sensor shield as well to keep himself healthy. And it looks like ISG is able to clean up the first few members coming in. Very low health bars as the shockwave goes out. Hold back in. A double kill now for Kindness. Looking for more as QQ's on the front line. Ready to get that Guardian Angel down, absorbing everything for his team. And Isurus Gaming looking to put themselves on the board here in the play-ins. Nexus in their eyes.
Virtus Pro, they've only got 2 members left. I don't know if they can hold it.
Coming up only for so long. Kriax doing his damnedest, blasting on the other side, doing just that, firing out every skill shot, every mystic shot, but still wonders and is left wondering what happened as Isurus Gaming comes up with their first win of the MSI play-ins.
They talked about it on the analyst desk. We talked about it as a team. Our expectations were that Group B was going to be far more competitive. The bottom place team are able to take their game off of Virtus Pro, but it was a damn hard fight for both these teams. It got to a point in the game where one big team fight could have swung it either way. You just needed the death times. You just needed the team out of the way. And in that final fight, Virtus Pro, they tried too hard to make the fight happen. The coordination again wasn't there. We didn't see the proper setup. They couldn't catch a single target out and then snowball off the rest of it. When you get into that full-blown 5v5, you saw the power of the Caitlyn Lulu. You saw the power of Isurus Gaming communication and their ability to just straight up win that fight.
It's one of those things where they're going to step back and look at that last play. Be like, Doxy took bot inhib, then continued to fight, but we had top. If they had rinsed and repeat, then do that with top mid, and they would have just consecutively taken them down. But like you said, they took the fight immediately. It felt good to get that inhib, and we could have been in all the way.
Yeah, because if they had won that fight, then that would have been the game, right? With that exposed inhibitor down bottom, like they could have just ran straight for the Nexus. But unfortunately,
you're always reluctant to pull back and come.
They didn't want to concede the inhibitor. They went for the fight. and they ended up losing the game as a result.
Well, Isurus Gaming got to feel good. I mean, they started it off well. We're able to carry some momentum. Still a back-and-forth game, as we expected, but to give us their thoughts on that ISG win, let's send it over to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Riv. Isurus Gaming grabbing a win on the outset of the day. They'll be happy with that one. But really, gentlemen, I want to jump right into the gameplay and kind of work through this because we had a clash of two comps, two very different styles. We had to protect the ADC, putting all the eggs in the Caitlyn basket on the side of Isurus Gaming. You know, on the other side, kind of a high execution, team comp, multiple carry opportunities. So let's start off 29-40 into the game. This is ISG around the Drake fight. 4 for 1.
One of the things I actually like is that it's not a complete protect the Caitlyn comp. The Ahri does have a fair amount of agency to go in and make plays like this. You can follow up on the Gragas, who had a lot of zone control as well. So you have the Caitlyn Lulu protecting your backline, and you also have the ability to dive into the enemy backline. So you can play fights a couple different ways. And here you see it was really hard for VP to contest that dragon. They kind of get chunked out walking in, having to deal with Caitlyn traps and Gragas barrels. And then they find a good opening, and they're able to get a fight to kind of bring the game back in their way.
That's the cool thing about having a Lee Sin and an Ahri in your team composition. It isn't all focused on protecting the Caitlyn. That is everything that VP were trying to do. And then you've got two people that can make these big plays, get the kicks, have the Gragas with the flash body slams. And there's just a lot of extra things that you can do behind the comp.
Absolutely. And then not 5 minutes later, we kind of see an example of how well VP needs to execute in order to win a game. This is 35 minutes in, 3 for 2 off the back end of this fight, and it almost doesn't go this well for them.
Right, you see Caitlyn barely able to get pulled in by that Orianna shockwave a couple steps further back. She's totally safe, and they're able to kite this fight out. And this is like what you were saying about how important, you know, the protect the Caitlyn comps can be. If you have a little bit extra shielding there, this goes horribly wrong for VP. But
right, this was only with a Lulu and a Lee Sin to provide shielding. There's no Ori in the mid lane. There's no Galio in the top lane. There was a Knight's Vow on the Gragas, at least at this point. No Ivern, exactly. So, you know, you saw how much it took for VP to get Caitlyn down through the flash, the heals, and the Lulu ultimate to boot. So, high execution comp, and hey, when it hits, it hits. But it requires you to do it time after time.
And the timing of that fight is what was so good for VP, is the fact that everyone is flanking. Ahri nowhere to be seen. The Gragas was not in position to actually engage. They're caught off guard. That's how the Caitlyn dies. Albeit barely, the Caitlyn does die. So that's what VP should have been able to replicate time and again, is have vision, prevent the flanks, or when you see someone on a flank, just run straight forward.
And Mark, they were almost there, right? Because they pick up the Baron, have control of the game. We've got, you know, split pushing Renekton in the bot lane, able to secure an inhib. Things fell apart just slightly with that death in the bot lane, and then opting for a fight here at the end of the game. Our ace replay will be Isurus Gaming able to pick up this final fight of the game off of the TP engage from the Renekton.
Gotta love the decisiveness by Isurus Gaming there. Doxy got a little too aggressive, dies in the bot lane, lets ISG push up the mid lane, and then they have such a hard time, VP, getting a clean engage here. You see the two frontline members are being dealt with by that Lulu Caitlyn core, Ahri dashing around between the two sides, and then Paranoia just getting way too aggressive, trying to get involved on killing the backline as an Orianna. Doesn't always work out that well and ends up kind of in the middle of the fight and just gets focused down.
It's one of those tough situations where you know as the Orianna, I gotta land that shockwave on the priority target. We saw how hard it was to get the Caitlyn down last time. If I can't do it this time, we lose the game. Well, guess what? Also, if you have to run through the other 4 members of the team to get to the Caitlyn, you're probably gonna die and lose the game.
Pretty much, unfortunately for Paranoia, but at the same time, you know, he had no other choice there. So
yeah.
Did what he could to try and kill the Caitlyn. That was VP's strategy. And to the bitter end, they tried to kill the Caitlyn.
Very much so. I mean, you do have to wonder whether or not it was even necessary to make the teleport call to begin with, right? If we're going to throw criticism, it's not necessarily within the fight, it's the choice of the fight. Could he not have just TP'd bot lane since he had established this split pushing pressure from prior and just caused them to, hey, give us some back or some map pressure back?
But most importantly, what they should have at the very least had was the Kha'Zix in front of their team. No one to protect the Orianna, 100% going to die. Renekton needed to run straight down the mid lane with his team and actually be a tank. When he teleports, there's no such thing as a front-to-back composition then. It's just 2 tanks and 3 carries. Very easy to pick them off.
Right, I think you have to look at that team fight as a whole and just be like, how do you win that team fight from how it started? It's not that easy to do, and it's a bigger problem with the decision-making to actually pick that fight. It does suck to lose your inhibitor in that way because, you know, Doxy, when he got that bot inhibitor, he almost got out and turns around for no reason at all, gets sniped by a Lulu Q, and that's what sets off that whole kind of chain of events, that one first domino falling with your top laner dying. And you know, you kind of got to feel pretty bad for VP on that one.
Absolutely, because, you know, on the outside of the day, having had that one win under their belt, there was still that realm of possibility where they get to that first place slot. Still possible mathematically, however, becoming...
My favorite kind of possible.
Yeah, becoming that much more slim in opportunity. And if anything, that's where I want to turn to this next game that we're about to have, being perhaps the most important game of the day, because if the Gigabyte Marines are able to pick up the victory here, boom, just like Supermassive, they've got it. They are into the next round.
Yeah, it's a little crazy to think about that just 2 games into today when it was the exact same kind of layout in terms of, you know, 3, 2, 1, 0, that it gets decided so much earlier in the day, but it's kind of just how the order of the game shake out here.
Yeah, kind of scary to say that, but Lion as well have been getting better as time goes on, so this is still going to be a pretty exciting match.
Well, and if we're going to speak about, hey, outside chances, technically Isurus Gaming as well needed this win. That was their own, right? They have to win all 3 games today if they even have a chance of forcing the 4-way 3-for-3 tie, you know, in which they can get to first. So a necessary win for them to pick up here on the outside of the day. We'll see if they can carry the momentum all the way through. We're going to step away for a quick commercial break. When we return, Lion Gaming look to take down the undefeated Gigabyte Marines. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the MSI play-ins.